Hello and grüezi, my name is Marc. I'm a computer science teacher from Switzerland and I finally built the teaching tool I always wish I had. And you can use it too, if you like it, so let's take a tour. It's called EduScript and it's with a K script because the philosophy is very close to what in German we call a script. That's a document that contains everything you need for this course. And likewise, EduScript is my place where I give my students all my explanations, demos, quizzes, diagrams, exercises, and even exams on one web page. So I'm not handing my students my chaos and, well, there you get another quiz and there you have the contents and this is the textbook. No, I wanted one source of truth, so to say, one web page where they get everything and they can concentrate on the subject matter. And that is why I built EduScript. The basic way you edit EduScript, and what you see here obviously is EduScript, is it's one long Markdown document. Let me go into the edit mode and scroll down a little bit, make it full screen. And now you see the same web page again in the editor. On the left we get the Markdown and on the right you have the page you just saw. And don't worry, you don't need to know any syntax by heart because you can essentially just write something new and see it appear here and say we wanted something should be bold. You have your standard toolbar up here that does things for you. If we wanted it to be a heading, for example, we'd press the heading thing and you see the syntax for a heading is 2 hashes. Now the cool thing about this is that you're in one document. You don't need to click together different boxes and there's another one like in some of the other LMSs. Rather, you have everything here. You can write it all in one document and you can use AI to write for you. So let's look at what basic formatting you'd use if you wanted to use EduScript. Well, you'd probably want to structure your content with something like callouts, for example. You have basic callouts like danger or discuss, hint, here's the solution, click to reveal, and so on. You get it. Then another visual related thing is you can add easy sketches with Excalidraw. So let's name this test 2. That's the second take. This is just a test. I'd probably use my pen and oh no, I need to go to the pen. Probably use my pen and draw something. I don't know. That's one way of adding a drawing. And it would be right in your page. You could then resize it however you like. And you see the syntax is done for you. In time, you'll probably know the syntax and you're a lot quicker if you know it. You can write it like that. A cool side note I absolutely have to mention is this already respects light and dark mode. Then if you know LaTeX, you can write your maths just with $signs inline or with $signs to get a nice block of math. Now let's save here and go back to the main site, because I want to show you one more thing. Remember how I said everything should be in one place? Well, the cool thing is that your script that you write in EduScript is already your presentation. Okay, so you don't need different slides or something. It is divided automatically by headings and your material is the presentation. Let me actually just stay here because this is quite nice to present it this way. One last point about editing, you can collaborate. So you could share scripts as teachers and co-author your scripts, or you can fork any other person's script automatically on EduScript, and it's licensed by Creative Commons. Now, being a computer scientist, I'm also a bit lazy. So I made sure that AI is integrated really well. And I always get my first drafts of my stuff from AI. I hardly ever write something from scratch. Like, for example, the thing you see here, everything is just done by AI. I haven't touched it. So you have basically two ways of using AI in EduScript. So I'll go to the backend again, just so you go to the editor. Here you have an AI edit function. Let's say we wanted to add another example of a plugin that teachers could use. So then I get it back. I can review the change it made and accept it or reject it, or just accept all of them. And now there should be another example of a plugin that I could use. This here. So that's one way. Another way to integrate AI is you can connect it to your Claude subscription, for example, or OpenAI, or any other subscription you have if they support MCP. Now, as I was teaching, I created an array of interactive components for students to use, like, for example, this RGB color slider that we use in class. But I realized I could never ever write all the interactive components for all the subjects. So what you're actually seeing here is an interactive plugin, and you can write your own plugins, and there too you get support from AI. Plugins may be something like this, and anything interactive really. This is a shortest path visualizer, which is an algorithm that finds the shortest path in the internet. Or down here, this is newly added from what we did before. It's just a small cipher lab that we use to teach cryptography. Now that, I think, wraps up more or less everything you can do. But the really cool thing, and what drives me as a teacher, you hopefully too, is what your students can do. One thing I put a lot of effort in is annotations, and one student even contributed to this system. So students can write anything they want onto EduScript, and you're probably thinking already, well, what if something shifts on the page? Well, worry not. Obviously, we thought about this. So if content shifts, annotations should stick with the content more or less. It's divided by sections, by the way. Then one student thought, well, actually he'd rather prefer sticky notes, and that works too. So you could add sticky notes as a student. You could also take a screenshot, and then when you paste your screenshot, you can add it anywhere on a page, just like your sticky note. But now comes the really cool part. And that is, we're looking at the student on the right with the sticky note and the thing we added. On the left, we're this student's teacher. And the student belongs to this exam class that I created. And now I'm activating broadcast of annotations as the teacher, right on the left. So if now as the teacher I wrote something on here, in some time it appears for the student as well. Okay, so as a teacher you can solve equations or whatever, and the class will be broadcast your annotations. Let's try if this works, adding a spacer like before. I'm gonna add a spacer here, make it check it, expand it, and you see your class gets the same spacer as well. Same works also for a new screenshot. Let's try another screenshot of this, like here. I paste it. This also appears for students. I used this when we had a coding exercise. I would distribute the solution code that I used as a screenshot to one particular class, but not the other. Now, going back to the student, one thing that I added as well is that they can get AI feedback on written stuff. So for example, write down the quadratic formula. Now I'm gonna write it wrongly deliberately, right? Let's say I thought it was minus b plus minus root of b squared minus 4a divided by 2b, right? There's two mistakes in there. Let's see. So you see that it correctly read my writing, which isn't always easy, and points out the two mistakes I made. It should be minus 4ac, and in the denominator it should be minus 2a. Talking about feedback, one thing I cherished as a teacher is that I get feedback live. So here, for example, we get the question, what gas do plants release during photosynthesis? Now, on the left, to recall, I'm the teacher here, and I see a live class overview of who has answered the question and whether they answered it correctly. So I'm on a new student now. This was a test student, and we should see, should we answer it correctly? Yes, oxygen. Right, okay, so we get a live update that someone else has answered now the question and have it correct. And you can control whether students see whether they got the right answer, whether they can change the answer, which should update on the left, or change it back, and so on. I integrated Safe Exam Browser as well, so you can have your students sit their exams on EduScript, which is quite nice. And in there, they can use all the tooling that EduScript has. For example, I, as a computer science teacher, obviously added a first-class programming environment. So you can execute your Python right away. Let's increase the font size here a little bit. And we have auto checks. So this solution here is obviously not correct at the moment. And the teacher sees that one student has answered it incorrectly. If we want a function to return the square, we should raise it, and in Python that's a double star. So now we get 3 squared is 9, which is correct, and if I check it, I should get confetti, and the teacher gets the update. I said first class programming support. This is because other platforms don't have that. It was dear to me that we have a matplotlib support, for example. This is also just a Python script that generates the matplotlib, and there's also Turtle. Let's go back to one window. Besides Python, SQLite is also besides Python, you can also use your own SQLite databases. For example, I have a Spotify tracks database from Kaggle that I use in my classes, and this would be a query that gets the most danceable genre that there is. And well, this is just normal SQL. If you need SQL, it's in there. Finally, maybe a note on privacy. All student identities are never stored in the database, rather their identities are hashed. So the only thing that is stored in clear text in the database are these nicknames, and students can use whatever. If they don't input a nickname, they get some Stoic philosopher as their nickname. However, teachers can still identify them in their local browser. Okay, so it's cached in your local browser which student has which identity, but the server never saves the student's identity. If you want to see EduScript in action, my, albeit German computer science curriculum is online on informatikgarten.ch, which is a fully developed computer science curriculum in German. And if you remember, everything is Creative Commons, so you can copy the entire curriculum for free.